Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Hey, everybody. We had some technical issues.
It wouldn't be a live episode if there wasn't a problem for Daryl to solve. But welcome to episode 25 of Chain Out Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
Just hold on, Jeremy. There's one thing I can do.
What's that?
Welcome to the Chain Out Podcast with your hosts, Jeremy and Daryl.
Look at you deliver.
There
so that's
go.
right.
We got
Hosts,
something.
Jeremy, Daryl, how's it going, buddy?
It's going fantastic. How are you?
Good. Now that we're actually rolling along, episode 25.
No one will notice, right?
No. I think they're pretty forgiving when it comes to a live episode. How much has to go into it, and to make all of this happen and coordinate it all together.
Technology.
Yes,
it's a fun thing
for sure.
Okay, episode 25, like you said. Let's get to it. What do we got coming up on tonight's episode?
Tonight's episode, well, the number one EDGA tag has moved. It's not with the same person it was last week, so we'll give you an update on that.
Yeah. We're also going to go over our fantasy draft. We've been teasing it for a few weeks, so it's finally upon us next week. We'll give you some information about that.
Yes, not too crazy. We're just going to give you a light little bit of information. Yeah. Then we're going to get to the main event, which is an interview with Jordan Alway, who's our Alberta PDGA coordinator, tournament director, organizer of an event called the Cold Garden Cup Tournament Series. And when we get to that part of the interview, we've got another guest coming on.
Not one, but two interviews tonight. We're also going to be bringing on Blake Belding, who is the Cold Garden Beverage Company co-owner, co-founder. So we'll be interviewing him later on as well.
And then make sure to stick around.
We like to put our monies where our cake faces are, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's right. Our cake faces. I got a lot to go on that one. But after the interview, be sure to stick around with us, because we're going to tell you a little bit how our experience at She's Up First went last week. And we're going to wrap it up with...
We're going to let you know how our Canadian pros did down on the Disc Golf Pro Tour.
That's right.
But let's get right back to it, Jeremy. Tell me what you know about this number one tag.
Well, do you remember last week who had the number one tag? Let's start there.
Well, I know... No. Who had it last week?
Well, Tim had it, but don't you remember the awesome story about how he lost it?
Yeah, but I don't know what... The weeks are melding into each other, Jeremy. I don't know which story I'm supposed to... There's some information I know, and there's some information I'm not supposed to know. Okay, so Riley beat Tim, and it was $4.99 to 1, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's what we talked about last week. Yeah, and so then Riley had the tag, and he was going to go up against Sean Heidebrecht at last Thursday's Rundle League.
Right.
And when he went up against him, it was Riley's birthday. So you would think that when it's your birthday, it should be almost guaranteed that you're going to hang on to that number one tag at least for 1 week.
Yeah, you got to get something for your birthday, right? People go easy on you.
You would expect so. But I talked to Sean Heidebrecht, and, well, let's just go through the story here. So I've wrote a couple of his notes down so I don't miss any of the details he had there. So they went up against each other, and Riley shot a super clean round. That should have also guaranteed him the win. He shot a round without a bogey at Rundle with those long pin placements we had last week. Yeah. And he shot 6 birdies, -6. And then Sean steps up. Sean has 2 bogeys on his card. So you figure at that point, when Riley shoots that clean, there's no way he's losing this tag.
You can see where this is going.
Yeah. So they're getting to the point where Riley's got 1 stroke in hand. And you know how we're playing the course this year right now with the construction and stuff. We're starting on 13, so we finish on 12. So they're on the second last hole. They're on 11. And Sean needs to get caught up here because he's 1 stroke behind.
Yeah.
So he's coming in. He's first on the box on this hole, though. And that's the side hill.
Yeah.
He gets it up there and he parks it. Riley hits the tree branch or one of the trees that's out there. Hits it early. Doesn't get to the basket. Sean puts in the birdie, and then Riley puts in the par. So now they're tied going into hole 12. But Sean knows the only way he's getting that tag off of Riley is if he can beat him on that hole, right?
Ties don't count. Yeah.
So he throws a shot that looks perfect. It's off the tee box, but as you know, the pin was in the long
Far
position.
Yeah.
And he thought that, man, I really laced this thing. That thing's going to be long, really long past the basket.
Yeah.
They hear tonk, like they hear this loud like clang, and
Yeah.
it's the only sound that every disc golfer knows, and that's hitting a band. So
Yeah.
he smashed the band on 12,
Wow.
and then it dropped it, but they don't know. Like, did it go flying under a tree? Where did it
Right.
go after that,
Yeah,
right? So Riley goes and he puts out his shot, and as they walk up to their discs, Riley is about 30 feet away,
Yeah.
and Sean's 10 feet away.
Oh.
Now, and I'm saying this, I like Riley, I like Sean, I'm not taking a bias here, but Sean said, well, Riley did exactly what I thought he would do, and he airballed that 30-foot putt. and then Sean tapped in his 10-footer and took the tag off Riley.
Wow.
So that's kind of what happened there. And then I did check and say, Sean, did you happen to play yet, or did you defend it? And I don't think he's really had an opportunity. But tomorrow, he's definitely looking for someone to challenge him for the number 1 tag at league.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have to look too hard. Like, he's going to have he's going to have competition there. Someone's going to want to take it off him.
Well, I think there's competition right here. I think you're going to step up and try to take down Sean with his. Oh yeah, so sorry to give you the end with his score. He had his 2 bogeys.
Yeah.
Which means he got 9 birdies.
Yeah.
2 bogeys and finished with a -7. So yeah, you and I can take him down, no problem. I'll take his knees. You hold on to his arm.
That's the only way we're taking him down. Yeah.
That's right. One of us can just take the tag
out of his bag and just leave him a berg.
He'd probably still take us down with just a bird.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, so Sean's got the tag. I don't care. He's not a member of EDGA, so we're keeping it out of EDGA hands, so that's good.
That's right. So the other thing that's kind of neat about this is that I was expecting this tag to kind of work its way up to the top, and it certainly is doing that, right? It moved from Mark, it moved to Tim, it moved to Riley, and now it's moved to Sean. So
what are you saying about Mark?
He was on the road to the stars there, right?
Okay, yeah.
He started that upward ascent.
Right.
So now it's kind of up there. I'm just wondering how we get it out of there. I think what we have to do is you're going to probably have to say, hey, Sean, let's come out to the hills. And
why am I involved in this a lot?
Because you were the one who almost beat Mark for it. So I figured you could try and take down Sean.
I had one lucky week, and you've beaten me every other week. So I think it's up to you. Mark's had his chance.
Either way, I guess we'll see. If there's an empty spot on that card at the right time when we get there, then we can go be, I don't know, what is that called? Be food. I don't know what it is. Anyways, it's going to be something where it's not going to work out well for us.
Exactly.
Meat for the grinder. I don't know. I was thinking of something like that.
Food fodder.
There you go. That's right.
Anyway. Yeah, that's awesome. At least EDGA doesn't have it anymore. So
that's right.
Good to see that it's moving around and not just staying with one person. But it's going to be tough to get it off. Yeah, tough to get it off him.
Yeah. No, he's a really good player. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the fantasy picks. Let's get our listeners back up to speed that's coming up.
Let's get rolling onto that. So we teased about it a couple months ago. We are going to be doing fantasy picks. We're going to be doing a Canadian version. We were originally going to be following the CDGT,
Canadian Disc Golf
we've
Tour.
Kind of twisted it. Canadian Disc Golf Tour. We've kind of twisted it a little bit. We're now going to be following the 9 Canadian A tiers. And the way that we're going to do it, so the first Canadian A tier is Foxwood Open, which is next week.
Yep.
We are going to do separate episodes from this one. So these ones are live. These ones are typically 2 hours. We're going to do a fantasy episode. We're going to keep it nice and short. We're going to keep it down to about 30 minutes. Each week we're going to have each tournament we're going to have on a special guest. So joining us for the first episode, like I said, Foxwood Open, we're going to be we're grateful to be joined by Mr. Tim Plamondon.
Yes.
He'll be joining us for the first episode. So we're going to do our picks. Hopefully the episode will get out. We're definitely going to release the episode before the final round.
Of
but
Foxwood
hopefully
on
we
Sunday
get it
or Monday.
Yeah, we'll get it released sooner than later. We'll put a post on Instagram with our 3 teams, teams, and either leave your pick in the comments and we'll add up all the comments. You can also put your comments on the fantasy YouTube video as well. So we'll go through, we'll pick up, count up all the picks for each person, and then the following week during the live episode, we're going to recap the Foxwood Open. We'll recap our fantasy picks, and then we'll be able to tell you who the listeners voted for.
Yeah, and join us for that episode because we'll really dive into details, but we just wanted to give you just a touch to let you know it's coming, it's happening.
We are doing
We're covering the 9A tiers, and we're going to have some fun.
Yeah. All right,
so
Jeremy.
That's all right. Well, Daryl, shall we get to the main event? Get to the guest?
Just like
Are we
to
ready?
say, we've got 4 people in the chat. There is something else that's happening tonight, so maybe we might be a little bit... We've got 5 people now. But hopefully everybody in the chat is subscribed. So if you're not subscribing, we're at 154. We're now on the push for 200. So if you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you know people that are not subscribed, tell them to subscribe as well.
So if you're not subscribed, make it happen, Cap.
There you go. Okay, let's get to it, Jeremy.
All right, so if you watch the teaser and you watch the reveal, you've got some of this information. Let me give you an introduction to Jordan Alway, who's going to be on the show here. This week's guest is an MA2 disc golfer from Calgary, Alberta. He's our Alberta PDGA coordinator. Daryl and I want to know what the heck that is, and we're going to find out, hopefully. Somehow, he also tournament directs not only the Lost Egg tournament out in Drumheller, but perhaps the most storied tournament in Alberta, Falcon's Flight. And if that wasn't enough, he's also spearheaded the creation of the Cold Garden Cup, which is a tournament series happening mostly in Alberta with a stop in Saskatchewan and BC. And we can't wait to talk to him about this and more. So let's welcome Jordan Alway to the show.
Let's bring him on.
Jordan.
Good evening, Jordan. How are you doing?
Hey, not too bad, guys.
Good.
How's it going?
Good. Glad to have you on the show
Not
tonight.
too bad.
Yeah, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Yeah, I can hear you. I'm kind of lagging.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's give this a shot here. We've always got a phone as a backup if we have to make a change. But yeah, welcome to the show.
Sounds like we're a bit caught up now. How are you doing, Jordan?
Yeah.
No, we still got a bit of a lag, but that's okay.
Oh, not too bad. Yeah, it sounds a little better now. So I gotta turn myself off. Turn the YouTube off there. Can you hear me better now?
This is the joys of live. We're already having technical issues with the beginning of our episode. It's all good.
Yeah, what we found at the start there, Jordan, was we had our little intro thing going on there, and it decided it just wanted to stay on. It just wanted to be on the whole show. So we got through that one.
Nice.
Yeah,
it seems to be working better now. It seems that I have 99% uploading now, so not
awesome.
It was at 50 when I first joined, so
beauty. So you're down there in Calgary. How are things going on down there? You guys finally getting some better weather like we are? Got a little rain and getting some sun and
oh yeah, finally. The last 2 days it's been downpouring. I think it was downpouring for you guys too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's good. It'll be good, hopefully, because I know last year when we were playing, there was a couple tournaments I was at when Daryl and I were at the Edmonton Open. It was so hazy and foggy and cloudy just from the smoke that was from the forest fire. So hopefully with all this rain, it'll start to make it for a better summer and we'll have less of that.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too, especially for Falcon or for Aspen Meadows. That'd be awesome to get, since we want it to be as green as possible out there.
Yeah, definitely. So you know what, we were doing your intro, and it's like the biggest mouthful to get through everything that you are part of in disc golf. Like we're talking about, you're the Alberta PDGA coordinator, you're the tournament director for the Lost Egg tournament, you're tournament director for Falcon's Flight, you're working on the Cold Garden Cup. Like, how do you get the time to do all this stuff? Like how like doing one of those things alone would be a lot of work, and you're doing all of them.
Yeah, it's quite a bit of work, to be honest with you. And I'm also in school right now for graphic design, so.
Wow.
I got a lot of work behind me, but I'm a subcontractor for a company where I only work like 3-4 hours a day, so I have lots of time.
Okay.
Right now. But I mean, most times it's just a lot of fun for me to do all of this stuff. Like it brings me joy, I guess you could say.
Nice.
When you're enjoying it, it doesn't seem like work, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it, so with that, do you get some time to get out and go disc golfing, or like how often are
Oh
you
yeah.
getting out a week?
Right now I'm not getting out too often because I'm pretty busy with school as well as getting this tour and Lost Egg and stuff organized. And then also tonight, if you haven't registered yet, whole sponsors for Falcons Flight open tonight. We only have like 14 left, so it only opened at 7 there. So
Yeah. Well, that's the exciting news that we were going to talk about later. But yeah, Chain Out Podcast. I got registered early, so we are going to be a whole sponsor at the Falcons Flight there. So yeah,
that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Yeah,
perfect.
I know it's nothing. It's the community is just so awesome with the support that we get for everything. So it's just
Guaranteed this one's going to sell out. Now one thing though, when we're talking about those courses and stuff, because we want to hit on Falcons Flight a little later on, but when you're out there playing, like we had Joe Henderson on the show and we got to see her just on the weekend here at She's Up First, but she's talked about all of the amazing courses in Calgary. Like I've had a chance to play Baker Park, which everyone talks about. I've had a chance to play Edgemont because it's near my family, but none of the other ones. Where do you end up playing? Like, where's your must play course when you're down in Calgary and you got the time to get there?
I would have to say DRM would probably be one of my favorites. It's a longer, more technically course. But I play Baker a lot just because of league. That's generally where the leagues were. But we just switched leagues. Jackson Pease is the one and John Pease there. They run the Glow leagues, and those are generally the two that I tend to make it out to. And
gotcha.
They just moved it to DRM for Wednesdays and Fridays, so we have our Glow doubles on Fridays and then singles on Wednesdays. And they just moved it to DRM, so it's a little bit better. It's a little bit further of a drive for me because it's absolutely on the opposite side of the city from me.
Well, it's just off Stony though, right? So does that make it easier to access, or?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good, easy for me to access. Like before Stony was fully opened, it used to take me probably, I'd have to say at least 35 to 45 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
Now with Stony being open, but like Stony's like right beside my house as well, so it probably takes me 20 minutes to get there now. So it's actually not all that bad.
That's not
Once
bad,
they opened Stony there, it's been so much better to get to that side of the city. So
nice.
I know that I've been following the Limber Open and which courses they're going to be using. They're going to be using Curry Reservoir and DRM, David Richardson Memorial Disc Golf Course, for people that want to know. But they also say that they're going to have a temp course at Elliston. Is that anywhere near you? Like, have they ever used a temp course there before?
So I think they may have ran one, maybe two at Elliston.
Okay.
From my understanding, and I don't quote me on this, but from my understanding, when we lose Forest Lawton, that's where we'll be getting the new course.
Okay.
Right. I know there's some talk about the fact that they might put it in there, but as long as it doesn't affect the fireworks, because the fireworks tends to be over there.
Oh yeah. The Globe. I think it's called Global Fest. Is that what it is?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's called Global Fest. Yeah, Global Fest is in there every year. But I don't think it will affect it at all. Like, I mean, I don't think baskets in the park are going to really affect fireworks from going up in the air, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If anything, it'll give another place to set a few up and launch them out of a basket, because we know they've been called horse feeders and Instagram tripods and everything else. So why not fireworks holders?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, so Jordan, I'm sure you're familiar. Well, actually, we talked a little bit before. We know you're familiar with the show. So one of the things that we like to do when we have a new guest on is get a little bit of an origin story of how they got into disc golf. But it's pretty boring for me to just say, how'd you get into disc golf? So I kind of take my spin on movies or superheroes and that kind of thing and try to tie your origin story. And I don't think I'm ever close, but we're going to see. Maybe I'm close tonight. So are you ready for it?
Sure.
Okay, here it goes. All right, let me get my script. And someone asked me before, hey, Daryl, if these were Chat GPT, and you can vouch, these are Chat Jeremy P, right? That's all these are.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm always interested to see where you're going to go with them and interested in the new one. So, yeah, they're 100% Jeremy only.
All right, here goes. Maybe like many Canadians, you grew up playing hockey. And although you could play, a future in the NHL was just not in the cards. When this reality sunk in, you did a 360 spin on your skates and hurled your stick into the last row of the bleachers. A local disc golf legend happened to see you throw that stick and said, "Kid, try throwing this," and put a disc in your hand. Not only did people gather to see your unique throwing style, but also to see the crazy antics you did on the course. When you get a chain out putting, you've been known to talk to your discs, saying things like, "Why don't you just go to your home? Are you too good for your home?" Your newfound fame has you organizing tournaments and representing fellow disc golfers provincially. You were given the nickname Happy Throwmore, and you've never looked back. So maybe that's how your disc golf story started. Maybe not, but why don't you tell us how you got into disc golf?
That was pretty good. I'd have to say I do quote Happy Gilmore all the time. It's one of my favorite movies. So
Perfect.
It's always nice when it aligns.
Yeah.
So I'm a COVID player, to be honest with you. I started, it was just happened.
Yeah.
I was, all how we were all stuck at home. Like I could go to work and that was it. I was a plumber at the time. So I would go to work and put my 8 hours in and literally go home and do nothing.
Right.
And then I had my one buddy who actually isn't really too involved in the community. He's really busy with school and stuff, but he likes to play every once in a while. He just invited me out one day and was like, "Hey, I'll just borrow you some disc." And of course, he was inviting me out for years before that, and I kept saying, "No, I'm not going to throw frisbees around a course. That's stupid." Right?
Yeah.
And then so the one day I just finally caved and I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll come. It sounds like fun, I guess now, like now that I got nothing to do, like type thing." So he's like, "Oh, I'll just borrow you a couple discs." I was like, "No, I'll go grab a couple, whatever." He's like, "They're cheap, right?" I was like, so I went down to Life Sport, which was really the only store that we had in the city next to Don's at the time. And I grabbed 3 discs and I think it was Eugene. I don't remember what his last name is, but he ended up hooking me up with a couple with 3 discs. And from there I got hooked. Like it was, it just so happened that I was one of the lucky few that got to play Park 96.
Oh.
So, and that being said, when you ask what my favorite course is, Park 96 would probably be my favorite course.
Okay.
To be honest with you, it completely blanked on me, but Park 96 is one of my, like, it's one of my all-time favorites just because it's a private course and all, but it's got elevation, it's got distance, it's got like hill shots, like you name it, you got it at that course, right? It's not just like a flat course like Baker.
Right.
But yeah, so I started playing with him in the summertime there, or spring. It was like kind of just coming into summer, and I got really hooked with him. And he just so happened to be not so busy that summer, so we ended up playing like 2-3 times a week. And yeah, it wasn't that great at the time, but I still had a blast just getting out, right? Because it was something we could do outside.
Yes.
During COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then that happened, and it all rolled around to about so come around September, I was just playing at Park 96. Really, I never really tried out any other courses at that point. Maybe I went to Lloyd once, I think, but Park 96 was my course that I played for 6 months, my first 6 months, and then winter came around, and of course at that time I thought disc golf was just a summer sport, so I ended up getting myself a girlfriend, and she wasn't interested in it, so I ended up not playing through the winter time, and then we ended up breaking up in the summertime or in the springtime, and I just needed something to get out of my head. So I ended up going and playing by myself all day, like every day for like 3 hours, like 2-3 rounds a day, just to keep myself with my dog. Like I take my dog with me, or dogs at the time. Sorry, I only have one now, but they were dogs at the time. So we would just go to like Bonta Vista, which is just down the street from me.
Yeah.
And I'd play like 3 rounds by myself, like type thing. And then one day someone mentioned to me that, "Oh, you should try Baker out." And so I was like, okay, I went down to Baker, and I ended up meeting a few people down there. And of course, you know how the community is just so welcoming. Like it's so awesome. It's such an awesome community to be a part of. And then I ended up meeting James Koizumi in on the course. I'm pretty sure I met him at Baker. I can't really remember though. And that was right around the time when they were trying to build Curry.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So he ended up bringing me in, and I ended up helping a little bit with not designing the course, but I helped put it in a little bit and like doing some work around the course before it was in. And then the main thing that I did help with was running the first event there, the opening event is
Yeah.
what he brought me in to do. And that's kind of where it rolled around to, hey, I enjoy doing this. And I ended up making a poster for that event, which was actually, I've been an artist my whole life.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things that kind of like making that poster kind of kicked it into gear of like, hey, maybe you should try graphic design, right? Instead of just, because I know I do a lot of wood burning and I paint here and there, and then I draw. And of course now I do stamp designs now and stuff.
Right.
But other than that, and then so after that, James, we kind of kept it going. And then the next year, I kind of found that there wasn't really much of a PDGA presence in Calgary, right? So I think that was the year. So it was rolled into my second year. One of my buddies, who's a professional downhill biker, like worldwide, like no, he's really good, like really good. He's like, hey man, you should try going to a tournament. And at this time, I didn't really know about tournaments.
Yeah.
So I ended up joining the one that was at Lloyd, and I was like, okay, cool. Got absolutely crushed. Like I think I shot like a plus 46 or something like that. Like it was ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
But I still had a lot of fun with everyone, right? So it didn't turn me away. And then so my second tournament was Lost Egg.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And so I ended up, these were guys that I met at Park 96. Like, so the guy that I play with at Park 96, his name's Royce. He's actually one of the maintenance guys there. So he works there in the evenings. So he's the one that always brings me in. And then he ended up introducing me to a couple of like the pro guys, and then like that played with him there. And so they're like, hey, you should come to Lost Egg. And so it was like a last minute thing. I messaged Elijah and was like, hey man, can I get into this tournament? Like there was like no spots left, but there was no one on the wait list. So I was like, dude, can I get in? And he's like, yeah. And he got me in. So of course it's still COVID time. So it was very like, you know, you couldn't party very hard, but we were still partying pretty hard. So I went out there and yeah, just had a blast, right? And then I came home with that experience. I crushed it, Lost Egg again too. I don't know if you guys have played there yet or not, but that course is grueling. Like it is grueling. So then I come home after that, and I met Elijah-ish. So and then it comes to like the next year, and then I played one more tournament that year, or maybe two more tournaments that year. I think I played the Fall Classic in Lethbridge.
Yeah.
And then before COVID, I had lived in Cranbrook, and it was actually kind of funny. I moved out there to work in the cannabis industry.
Okay.
And I couldn't find a job out there because it was like right when cannabis was legalized. But I was one of the first people in Canada with a certificate for cannabis.
Okay.
Like I was the first person to graduate from the College of the Rockies with a certificate in cannabis. So I figured, I'll just go out there and I'd be able to find a job easily, right? Couldn't. I ended up working at a liquor store part-time, like 30 hours a week. And one of the guys that was out there, he would always come in every day and he would talk about disc golf.
Right.
And I'm like, kind of like, and that was the point where I was like, man, that's a dumb game, right?
Yeah.
And so the one tournament popped up in Cranbrook, and I was like, I had a place to stay out there and everything. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go to Cranbrook for the weekend. That was a last minute decision again. And so I messaged Serge Coslin there, and he's like, yeah, I can get you in. So he got me in. Got absolutely crushed at Wycliffe. So like my first year, I got absolutely crushed at every tournament I went to.
But you had some sort of bug.
Yeah, but I think I was at like a 6 or like just under or just over 700 rated or something like that after my first year. And I was like, oh, that's not that good, right? So I ended up, that was the end of the year. And then I started playing more winter. And then I realized that year that you can play in the winter. And I'm like,
play all year long if you're up for it, right?
Yeah. So started helping out there and everything. And then it came to springtime, and I had heard that Elijah was trying to find someone to take over for Lost Egg.
Hmm.
And that was kind of when I realized that, hey, there's not much PDGA representation in Calgary, right? For like tournament wise, like it's kind of like, how do we not have a yearly tournament here, like Spring Runoff or River City Cup,
Right.
right? So it's kind of like, well, let's try and get a tournament going here. And I just so happened to be friends with a lot of the people at Park 96. I ended up hosting one of the first tournaments there in years. Like it had been years, and that was in 2022. So I ended up hosting a tournament in the spring there, sold out in minutes. Like I sold the
Oh.
tournament out in minutes because it was a sought after course that not very many people get to play.
Gotcha.
Right. So ended up getting that done, and it went off without a hook. Well, I mean, not out without a hook, of course. There's lots of hiccups and stuff running events.
But yeah, it's all whether the players actually know it. You may know it, but as long as the players don't see it, all is good, right?
Exactly, right? So
Do you remember
went
what
off without a
that? Do you
hook.
remember what that tournament was called?
What did I call it? It was the spring equinox. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up playing in that tournament as well as running it, and that wasn't a good decision. Because I normally, at that time, I normally had shot like maybe +6 to like anywhere from +3 to +8,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
8 over. I was like, oh, I should be fine in this division, right? I ended up shooting because I was so stressed out that day of running the event and it being my first event ever.
Yeah.
I ended up shooting like, I think I ended up shooting like +20 the first round or +16 the first round, and then like I did better the second round. I was like +12 or something like that. But bringing that back a little bit, so when I finally realized that PDGA didn't have much of a representation here in Calgary, I was talking with James Koizumi, who's a big part of the Calgary Disc Golf. And he ended up putting me in contact with Don Annette, who is our tournament director for like the like, he's our head honcho for Falcons Flight, we can say.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And he had ran tournaments. He's been playing for like 25 plus years. He'd been running tournaments for years. So James ended up putting me in contact with him to like as like a mentor to run tournaments.
Wow.
So he ended up helping me run the first tournament, and same with Serge Goslin out of Fernie there. He so they ended up helping me, and like me and Donnie would meet up for beers and steak sandwich at like our local pub, like because me and him actually live pretty close to each other, so we would just meet in the middle at one of the pubs and just chat about tournament stuff. And then so that came around, and then I heard that Elijah was looking for someone to take over and or help with Lost Egg.
Right.
So my first year, which was 2022, of helping run Lost Egg, I ended up just helping him that year, just to kind of get because I wasn't sure about running tournaments quite yet, but I had lots of great ideas to run these tournaments better, right? Or not better, I guess you could say, but so that we would have more enjoyment out of them. And but Elijah was one of, like, I'd always heard great things about Lost Egg, like, and like being there the first year, I enjoyed myself so much. My players pack was awesome, like, right. So the second year, rolled into the second year, I ended up helping him run it. We ended up running a really good tournament. We ended up hitting one of the highest payouts for Lost Egg.
Oh, great.
Wow.
That year. So of course it clicks into me for the next year. I'm like, I gotta beat that now, right?
Right.
So now Elijah's kind of stepped back after 2022, and it comes into 2023, and I literally ran it by myself.
So, Jordan, asking you on that, if we can dig into that Lost Egg a bit. So you're going to take on now this tournament director position there, and it's a tournament that's been around. This is its 23rd year. Now, I think that's probably one of the longest standing tournaments in Alberta, right?
It is. I think I actually looked that up not too long ago. I can't remember. It's actually one of the longest running in Canada.
In Canada,
Oh, wow.
even. So
Yeah.
then, when you stepped in and you're going to take the reins from Elijah to be the head tournament director on it, were you nervous about that, or was it because the last one went, you were like, "Nah, I got this. I got it figured out."
I was totally nervous about it a little bit. Like I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of work. Like me and him put in a lot of work together, but we split it, right?
Yeah.
But I kind of took how he ran it and just improved on it a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't much. I didn't improve on it by much, but I improved on it by just a little bit. And I ended up hitting last year. So I ended up getting players packs that were worth 220% of what they bought in.
220. Holy
Yeah.
crow.
That's awesome.
And then I ended up hitting the highest that it's ever had for added cash for the pros,
Okay.
Nice.
which would have been number one in Canada last year if it wasn't for Clearwater, who had that $15,000 from the hotels.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but other than that, like I really enjoy, like it just brought me, like so one of the big things that was like at Lost Day was submitting scorecards or starting your scorecard was terrible. Like there's no service out there. You'd almost have to like
Right,
go around the like monument and try to like catch service, right?
Right.
So one of the things I did last year is I bought a Starlink on the tournament's budget.
Oh,
Wow.
nice.
Yeah, and it worked flawlessly. Like everyone would come to Tournament Central and like anyone could connect to it, and it never slowed down the speed or anything.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's
So
cool.
I brought the Starlink out there, and we ended up buying a big tent the year that me and Elijah ran the tournament. So it's a big. I don't know if you've seen it on the footage or not of Falcon's Flight. It's the tent that Limber's in. That's my tent. The Lost Egg tent, but we kind of allow Taylor to use it for Taylor at Limber to use it for Falcons just because of how much he puts into the community, right? And
Yeah.
how much
Jordan,
he gives me, right?
yeah. Well, with the Lost Egg, though, I was thinking that we should tell our listeners a little bit about it. And the fact is that, like, Daryl and I are aware of it. We haven't been down there, and people think it's in Drumheller, but technically it's not in Drumheller. It's actually in Wayne, Alberta, which is as far as I got a little story for you on this one, but it's a ghost town. Is it kind of like at the end of a one-way road that has like 13 bridges or something like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how many bridges are on that road, but yeah, there's about, I'd have to say close to 10 on that road. And it's about 15, I'd have to say about 15 to 20 minutes from Drum.
Yeah.
But it's such a blast of like that tournament is just so unique because everyone, or I can't say everyone, but I'd have to say about 80% of the people camp during the tournament, right?
Oh, that's
Right.
cool.
Yeah, so it's such an awesome experience and so fun. Like there's so much, like the party goes up. Like I've had people not show up to their tea time because they've been partying all night, right? They couldn't stop, or they would go to bed at 4:00 in the morning and they'd have to tee off at 7, so they'd miss the tea time,
wow.
right?
And from what you said, you touched on it a little bit earlier. Like it's not a forgiving course either. So I mean, if you're turning up and you're not feeling 100%, then you're certainly gonna feel it.
And most times it was on the second day, which would be your third round, that most people wouldn't show up. So they would show up for their first two, which was very grueling as well at the time. So that being said, this year I kind of changed up the way that we're running it. And I'm running it 3 days this year just for that purpose.
Okay.
Because of how hot it was, or how hot it gets out there, playing 2 rounds on that course in 1 day is just, it's a lot. It's a lot of work, especially for the older gentlemen, right?
Yeah. Well, we heard too, though, is that, like there's a lot of elevation, a lot of up and down. But I was just talking to a guy on the weekend who was telling me about the tournament in preparation for the interview and he was saying there's a couple spots where if your disc goes off, you have to just leave it, because if you attempt to get it, you could kill yourself. Essentially, you could fall off a cliff.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a few of them. So like hole 13, I see discs on the cliff all the time. Last year, I actually had to make you're not allowed to go down and get your disc from there unless it's after the ground. or unless it's after the round. I was like, you can't do it during the round,
Right.
just because of how dangerous it's like a sheer cliff on like rock, right? So it's kind
Gotcha.
of like you shouldn't be going to get your disc unless you could retrieve it with a retriever. That was the only way that you could get your disc during the round from that
Right.
cliff. And then there's a few other holes. Like, I mean, I lost one last year on hole 16, I think. I ended up it was 17, which is like a big around the corner, around this big rock face. And I ended up shooting it up over top of the rock face and over, and I just lost it. And people were like, "Oh, let's go look for it," and I was like,
Nope.
"Nah, I don't feel like going to look for that right now," because that was after the tournament. I ended up going and playing around with a few guys on the Monday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I never got to play all weekend, and so I was like, and it just so happened to suck. It was one of my favorite discs, and it was one of like
Oh,
It's
a
always
sought
your
after
favorite
disc
disc, yeah.
that I couldn't really replace. Even it was a Paige Pierce Passion, like the Color Glow ones,
yes.
and
Okay.
or not Color Glow. It was the trend, the ones that changed color to like they changed to purple.
Oh, like a hypercolor shirt from way back in the day, Daryl.
So
I remember those. Yeah.
And I'd even heard that Paige Pierce hadn't even got one of those discs, which was
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting it back eventually. Someone else ended up throwing over there and found it for me, so which was nice. I ended up getting it back, but after
Nice.
that, it was crazy. So then last year too, which was like that was kind of one of the determining factors. I'm like, you know what, I'm running 3 days next year. Is we ended up having a rainstorm on Friday, and I don't know if you guys know, but I can't remember what the terminology is for it. But out there, when it rains, you cannot go on it because it ends up becoming like slipperier than ice, like type thing, and it's like mud, slip. Like you can't play on the course. So Saturday morning, we woke up. First tee off was supposed to be 7, I think, and of course I'm up at 6, like after like partying the night. And
Did you go to bed? Did you go to bed?
No, I did go to bed, but it was only like a couple hours.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I ended up going to like Tournament Central at like 6, and I'm like, right. So I ended up having to bring some of the guys in that had more experience, that were out there, that had experienced this before, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I do? Like, these guys can't play on this course, and it was supposed to be nice that day, right?
All right.
So what I ended up doing that day was, I think we ended up allowing, what we did was we were able to start playing at like 11 because it finally wasn't dry enough. So we ended up, one of the locals, Travis Hardy, he's a firefighter out there. So he's safety guy, big safety guy, right? So he was kind of like a like determining factor of like, yeah, we can play now, right?
Yeah.
So 11 o'clock rolled around. I allowed the AMs to go out and play. Oh no, I think I let the pros went out first. So like the AMs were supposed to play in the morning from 7 till like 11, and then the pros are supposed to play from 11 till 2, and then 2 to 5 was supposed to be the pros again, or the AMs again, and then after that, which I think normally the tournament would go until about 8 o'clock.
Okay.
Wow. It's a long day.
So the pros would play after that. So what I ended up doing was only playing 3 rounds that day. So the pros went out first round, then the AMs went out for their first round, and I ended up flopping it to the next day.
Gotcha.
So the AMs could still get 3 rounds in. I had a couple of disgruntled people about that, but
you can't control the weather.
You can't control that.
I can't control that, right? Exactly. So everyone ended up getting in their all 3 rounds. It just so happened that we had to shift it to Sunday, right?
Right.
And so it ended up working out. So that's kind of why this year I went 3 days, just because of that, right? It's kind of like, so now I know I can run 2 days. Like, say on the Friday I were to get rain again, I can move it to
the space.
You can always
I can move it to Saturday again, and still have and just run it the same way we used to run it, right? And have 4 rounds on one day and then 2 rounds on the next day, like type thing. But this year, just running at tee times, it's just going to be It's gonna be so much easier for me. I'll be done so much earlier because like that's a long day for me. Like it was a very long day for me. Like I was up
Oh,
at 6 in the morning, and I don't think I ended up finishing doing everything because of course I had to go once everyone was done. I had to go and set all the cards and stuff for the next day, do everything in the
Yeah.
EDGA, right?
yeah.
It's a long day when you get up at 6 and you don't go to bed until 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I think it was about 11 o'clock by the time I finished on Saturday because of everything that happened that day.
Right.
I think like 11 p.m. So I ended up like 16 hours being out there, right? And then that's kind of why I was like, 3 days is just going to be so much easier on me.
Yeah.
Last tea time right now, like I did mock-ups earlier this week or earlier last week, and my last tea time should be about 3:30. So
Oh, that's good.
it'll be so much better. So I should be done by like 5 and be
Yeah.
able to enjoy myself a little bit out there, right?
Yeah.
So we're
You
like,
gotta
Yeah.
you got to take that into consideration as well, right? You're not only
yeah,
you out there, you're running it, but you also want to be out there enjoying it as well.
exactly, yeah.
One thing that I wanted to bring it back to the course was that we haven't mentioned, but obviously we should mention it, is that something unique about Lost Egg is that you actually play on tonals. You don't play on baskets.
Exactly,
So
yeah.
you want to talk a little bit about why, how that come about, or why that it hasn't been updated, or you're trying to
So,
keep it to
Well,
tonals?
yeah, and before we talk about tonals, the one thing I'll tell you too, Jordan, we're going to plan to bring Blake on here in about 10 minutes or so. So what we'll do is if I might have to jump in on you, it's only just so that we can get Blake and we'll jump to Cold Garden at that point. But yeah, tell us about the tonals.
okay.
That's something that neither Daryl nor I have had
Yeah.
a chance to play on yet.
So these tones are not like your regular tones, right? So like most tones, like we have tone courses here, and they're like, these small poles with like a fire hydrant on top of it or something, right? Just
Okay.
they're not very big, right? These tones they're 8 inches wide by like in diameter. They're 8 inches in diameter by, I'd have to say, like 3 feet tall.
Oh, okay.
So it's about the same. It's the same distance as a basket is what it was, I believe, like the same like length as a basket from bottom of cage to top of band, like type thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've actually brought it up like, hey, we should bring in, because I would love to run that tournament as an A tier. And that was
Right.
kind of my mentality of over last year was I'm running this as an A tier, but it's a B. It's an X, and it's actually an XB because it's ran on tones, right?
Gotcha.
But the tones, I've thought about bringing the baskets in and everything, but you hear so many people, no, don't bring the baskets in. The tones are it's just so unique to
It's part
run
of
it.
what it makes the course, right?
And to be honest with you, if there were baskets there, because of how windy it gets there all the time with the heat,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
um, if you were to have a band or a cage or a chain out, you could be 100 feet down the hill again, right?
Gotcha.
Whereas like a tone, you click it or you ting it, and if your disc goes way down 100 feet, you've
Doesn't
got the
matter.
stroke. It doesn't matter, right?
So yeah, you
So
find that when you have tonals, do you find those rounds go a little quicker because of that? Because when you could still airball past that tonal, but once you hit it, done, moving on, let's go to the next hole.
exactly, yeah. So it's definitely not worth changing them, but at one point it would be cool to have a tournament just to see what it would be like with
Right.
baskets. But
Yeah.
at the same time, the tones, just everyone loves the tones, and I mean it's just such a sought after tournament that
Yeah.
why change something that's not broken, right?
Yeah.
That's right. Well, Jordan, what we'll do is we've got Blake in the lobby. So before we get to that, I just want to say to wrap up on Lost Egg, when we were looking, it looks like right now 151 of 180 spots are filled.
Mhm.
There's 24 MPO spots currently kind of being open right now, and then 5 MA1s. But would you encourage people to go in and get on the waiting list? Would some of those spots maybe change to other divisions?
I don't currently have a wait list, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I originally wanted 180 just to like bump it up a little bit because over the last 2 years we signed up like with registration. This is the first year that registration didn't fill in minutes, right?
Okay.
Okay.
But I kind of have a feeling that's just because of how many events we have now. Like it's
Yeah.
crazy
Yes.
how many events we have now in the city. Like you have to pick and choose, right? Like as of myself, like I'm probably only playing in like 3, 4 this year.
Well, you're so
And,
busy with everything else. I don't know how you
You've got no
could.
time.
that's just it too, right? I'm just so busy with everything. But yeah, it's just crazy how. So yeah, I have 152, and we've always ran 152 every year.
Okay.
Or over the last 3 or 4 years, at least 2 or 3, 4. I think it's been the 3, 4 that they've run the 152. So I'd be happy at 152, but I put that in there because last year I had a 30-person wait list, right?
Yeah.
So I added more, and so yeah, I have 100. I think I have 151 right now. And if people want to register for the Lost Egg, awesome. It's such an awesome experience. Like, it's one tournament that you should put on your bucket list at least to come to once.
Definitely.
It seems so unique.
Force out, right? Just because of how unique it is of a tournament, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we're going to give everybody another reason to go to it. And why don't we get Blake on, and then we'll move to the Cold Garden Cup, and we'll get a little introduction on Blake, and then we'll jump into that as well. And then we can kind of touch on how Lost Egg comes into play in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's bring Blake into
Belding to
lobby.
the show, eh?
Yeah. Oh, sounds like somebody
Hey,
was
guys.
listening to us. Hey, Blake, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Welcome
We're
to the
doing
show, Blake.
fantastic.
We were just kind of chatting about the Lost Egg tournament there, and then we wanted to get you on here because we want to maybe move into the Cold Garden Cup. So to let everybody know, you are the co-founder of Cold Garden Beverage Company, and you're
Yep.
also the head brewmaster, are you?
Yeah. I don't know. Brewmaster's a term I think is reserved for like far older, more experienced people than I. So I just call myself head of production now because
Head of wonderful beers like Cake Face,
Ah,
possibly?
awesome. Oh, no,
Cake
am I the
Face?
only one without a Cold Garden beer here? I feel like
Or, I mean, if you don't like Cake Face, you could also, I mean, it's got a very nice picture on that one there.
Oh,
This is
amazing.
the
That's
IPA. Yeah, I
It's
like
good.
that one.
Yeah. So, well, we wanted to bring you guys both on because one of the cool things about disc golf in Alberta is that it, like, as we were just talking with Jordan, it's growing and it's growing. You know, there's so many tournaments, so many things happening. And last year we saw the Canadian Disc Golf Tour kind of pop up, and that was something the Park Pro Boys were trying to do. And I think they're trying to work on something like that this year. But one thing that came up now is that you've got this collaboration here where we have the Cold Garden Cup that's going to be 15 events in Alberta with one in Saskatchewan and one in BC. So, like, how did this come about? How did you guys come up with this? It's just amazing. It felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is all Jordan. Like, we got to know each other probably a little over a year ago, and he had, first time we talked, he just had all these crazy ideas, and I was just like, man, if you do any of this, please just let me put my name on it, whatever that looks like, and yeah, let him talk about it. It's his baby.
Yeah.
So Blake, are you a disc golfer as well?
Oh yeah. So I'm not a good disc golfer, but I've been playing for probably about 12 or 13 years now. And
Okay.
ironically, back when we first started the Cold Garden, on their website, it said, our old website said, what would you be doing if you weren't brewing beer? It was like, asked us what, like, all the founders, what we would do. And on my tagline, it said would be like running disc golf tournaments, because I love the game so much. I love being around it. I love all the people, but I'm just really terrible. And no matter how much I play, I can never get better. I think I might be getting worse now. So I find that, like, being a part of the tournaments is a way to be close to the sport. And it's not like I still play quite often. It's just gives you another thing to kind of participate on.
Gotcha. So then what was it, Jordan, that made you think, like, how did you come up with this idea, and what was it that made you think that Cold Garden would be the tie? Did you see that write-up that Blake had, or how did it come about?
I just I wanted to run a tour. I just, after, like, kind of deciding that I wanted to run for PDGA rep after not having, like, we had Robin on board there, and I heard that he wasn't going to redo, and I didn't hear about anyone else really wanting to put their names up. So I was like, you know what else am I going to do? Right? At that time I had a lot more time on my hands. And so I was just like, we hadn't had a tour in Alberta for, I don't even remember the last time the tour was ran. I think it was before COVID. So I was like, you know what, we should get a tour going, right? And I ended up meeting Blake at putting league.
Okay.
Cole Garden ended up putting in they were sponsoring that day's event. So Blake and a couple of his like team from work and a couple of his buddies came to putting league that day, like to represent Cole Garden. And then, like Blake said, we ended up chatting, and I ended up giving him some of my ideas, and he put, "Hey, you should contact me, right?" And of course, finding sponsors is not the easiest,
No.
right? But I've always had the mentality, and like I kind of find sponsors a little bit easier because I have the mentality of if you don't ask, you don't know, right? So yeah, and then I ended up chatting with Blake over the year, and he ended up sponsoring Lost Egg and then Falcons, and then I ended up being like, hey man, I'm thinking about running this tour, like would you guys want to be involved, right? And it ended up being like, yeah, we would love to be involved, right? And so I kind of ran through with Blake what I wanted to do, and then we kind of came up with a number of what we could put down for the tour, of what his sponsorship and what we could do for the tour. And so we ended up coming up with a number, and I kind of wanted to do it a little different than most tours, where tours pay the tour,
Right.
whereas this, I'm actually giving money to the tournaments instead of them paying me for stuff, right?
Oh.
So yeah, like you said, I think we have 10.
Sorry.
That's an old sound effect Daryl's got there from. I don't know why you threw
We're
that
having
one in,
some
buddy.
issues on our live stream, so I'm trying to fix it, and I tried to be as subtle as I could. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I think it's 13 events that are in Alberta from what I looked at, and then we've got the one in BC and the one in Saskatchewan. Is what when I was looking.
13 in total, actually.
Oh, okay, 13 in total.
Then, so we were going to run the championship, but we're still unsure of. I'm unsure of that at this time because, as you guys know, I have a lot on my plate, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
so running another tournament at the end of the year might not be too in the books quite yet. But what me and Blake have been thinking is we might do an event at the end of the year. So like we haven't really chatted with Limber yet, but if he's watching this, we potentially might want to do. We might want to do like an event at Limber with like Cole Garden beer on tap and do like an award ceremony for all of the players that are at the end of that that placed in the tour points like type thing, and maybe do like a one round at one of the courses in the city or Red Tail Ridge, one of the two, which is one of our newer courses that's just outside the city.
Gotcha.
We might just do like a one rounder, like most people. Like I was talking with Don Annette, and he was kind of like, he's like, man, like, do you really want to run another tournament? Like, that's a lot of work after like a month after Falcon's flight, and then like 2 months after Lost Egg. And I was like, yeah, that is a lot of work. You're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
And he also, the one point that he brought up to me, and that's kind of why we're kind of like, I don't know what to do about it, is we don't know whether all of the people that are in first, like in contention to be in the top three,
right,
would actually come to the event, right?
Gotcha.
Or be able to come to that event, right? So, so we're running it. That's still up in the air. I would love to do something at the end of the year for everyone, but yeah.
Well, one of the things I did see with that was that with those 13 events that you've got going on, what's interesting compared to some of the other tours and tournaments is in those ones, you would have to participate in as many events as you could and get as many points as you could. But the way you guys have set this one up is you'd still love everyone to do that. But what will happen is if you can't make it, say you're in Cranbrook and you can't do the 12 hours up to Fort McMurray for the Oil Sands Open, you know, you're going to allow for the top 5 tournaments that you play, right? The best points. Is that how you're going to kind of be ranked for how you are performing in the Cold Garden Cup?
Yeah, so I changed that actually. So it's going to be a top 6 events.
Top 6, okay.
Top 6 events will get will count towards your cumulative points for the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Top 3 players will get paid out at the end of the season. I'm unsure about payouts at this time right now.
Yeah,
as I still got to work out all the money and stuff and do some fundraising to make some more money. But yeah, so top 3 will get paid out. Number 1 will get their name on the trophy, And I don't know if you guys have seen in the back mini basket that's sitting right there. I'll have to pop it up here and show you the trophy. It's not 100% finished yet, but it's I've got the like nameplate and everything on order now. It should be here by next week. And then we're gonna put some stuff around the top of the band and stuff. And so
nice. Now, Blake, did I understand it right too? Is with the trophies once the tournament is done, is that they're going to be up on display in Cold Garden Beverage Company?
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to do. I think we'll let the winner take it home for a while, like Stanley Cup tour around, drink out of it on the parade that I'm sure their hometown will throw for them when they found out they win and all that. And then yeah, maybe get it back in the brewery for the dead of winter and kind of have it on display and just something to.
That's awesome. Anyway,
you okay, Jordan?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah.
So here's the trophy.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So is that on like a mini keg or something that it's on?
Yeah. So it's a 10-liter keg, and so originally Blake and I had the idea of putting a basket on top of the keg.
Yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool, like the Stanley Cup, right?
Yes, for sure.
So one day when Blake and I were sitting down chatting at Cold Garden and enjoying a couple beverages, he's like, yeah, let's order. So we ordered this one up thinking it was a little smaller than it was.
Right.
And so we ended up building it up. He ended up bringing the keg in, and I ordered the mini basket, and I was trying to figure out how to put it together. So if I can fully take it apart. Oh, am I still in? Yeah.
Yeah, we can still hear you there.
Okay.
Your video might be lagging, but that's okay. Yeah. We'll catch up.
Okay. Yeah. So it's fully. I can take it apart and put it in a case if I really wanted to.
Okay.
I was thinking about maybe I have a Pelican case. I was thinking about maybe getting it so we could put it in a Pelican case and stuff. And
so you could even have the white glove treatment in that. I'm wondering too if maybe with this is, here's a thing to convince the winners. That keg will be full. You can take it home, and when it's empty, then it's got to come back to the Cold Garden.
Actually, we should do that. We could definitely do that.
Yeah, that's awesome to do.
Yeah, and that's the way. Then you can celebrate. You can take it.
Yeah.
Everybody celebrates, and when it's empty, it's got to come back, and then it'll be ready for the next year.
That's
I know. I did have the idea of making it so that like a tube or something went up the pipe of the basket, and like you could hook a cap up to the top or something, right? That's
nice.
Cool. But so I ended up drilling holes through the cap and stuff, and ended up putting it all together, and it's definitely a unique trophy, and it's a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. But I think the people that are going to get, and so every first place division winner will get their name put on it at the end of the year. Like we'll get a plaque made up and then put it on there for each year, right?
No, that's awesome. And I'm really excited about this event, guys, because to me, we were looking at it and we were saying, what are we going to play? And Daryl and I have started to register. We're playing Wally's 100. We're playing Spring Runoff. We're playing the not Lost Egg. We're playing Limber Open is what I'm looking at. And then all of a sudden I see, hey, all of these are part of the event. So that's pretty cool to start with. And then it's also kind of helping me now line up what other tournaments I might enter to be part of it. So I'm excited. I think you're excited about it too. Hey, Daryl?
Oh yeah, I'm really excited. I just decided to pour myself.
He's got his beer all set
Sorry.
to go there.
That was kind of the reason
I've been trying to fix the live stream on YouTube, but it's not doing it, so it will just be an audio podcast, I'm afraid. But
and then we'll put it up. We can always post produce after. We'll do something like that.
We'll find ways around it. So
we've got talents.
It's perfect. We're actually going to have beer gardens at hopefully as many of these tournaments as I can schedule myself in as well. So we'll have an IPA ready for you guys after each round, or a cake face. I'll be at Spring Runoff in a couple of weeks, and then working with Taylor, we got huge things planned for the Limber Open, and then I'll be up in Edmonton as well for over Canada Day long weekend. So
for River City,
nice.
Yeah, for River City. So we'll have beers for you guys after your rounds there.
too. You're just playing right to pulling our heartstrings, hey Daryl?
Exactly.
And we're really hoping to get something going for Lost Egg.
Yeah.
And Falcons. So as of right now, at Aspen, we're kind of going through we have to rezone.
Okay.
to recreational, not agriculture.
Okay.
So we really wanted a beer garden at Falcons, but I know Blake's going to be present there, and we're going to figure something out so that he can maybe even just give beer to like. So like last year, Blake ended up giving us like
Are you
8
being
flats of beer.
Is Blake
voluntold to
on
do
board with
something
this?
here?
Well, what I was going to say is if there's any AGLC inspectors listening right now, there's no such thing as free beer in this province. So it
That's
will be
right.
bought and paid for by somebody, and then
Yeah.
the patrons of Falcons will get to enjoy it as well.
There you
Yeah.
go. Someone will be given a ticket or something
Yeah,
to redeem for a free beer.
exactly.
So like last year, we ended up giving beers to people as they came off of the course on the west side. And
Gotcha.
that's kind of what we were thinking about maybe doing this year as like a sponsorship, right? As like sponsorship towards the tournament. What else what else do we got going, Blake? Like, I mean, Limber Open is Blake's baby.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blake's baby.
We're really excited about it. We finally got we met with our counselor because we wanted to host the tournament in the city. Lloyd Park in WJ was awesome last year. But it's having Lloyd out of town, you know, we're trying to foster like a spectator community around the sport as well. You know, like I think a lot of people that play disc golf casually don't even understand about the competitive aspect that there are tournaments, or that, you know, that there's people as serious about it as us nerds. So we're trying to get people out to watch as well, and having it out at Lloyd, that was a challenge last year. So we met with the counselor, and they've never really allowed people to throw big tournaments in the city, but they're on board with it this year, and so they gave us Curry and the DRM, and then we're actually building a brand new temporary course out at Elliston Park, which is where they have the big fireworks show. And so that one's going to be really cool because there's a huge water feature right in the middle of that whole park. So it's going to be, that one's going to be incredible. And then on the Saturday night, we're going to have a live band and vendors, like food trucks and that whole thing. So it'll kind of be like a disc golf party. And the AGLC is on board as well. So Curry's going to be where Tournament Central is, and they're going to help us license the entire park. So if people want to watch, they can walk around the whole park with a beer in their hands, and I'll be ripping around on a golf cart selling beer out of the back of it, like a real golf course. Yeah.
Well, Blake,
that
a
sounds
funny
awesome.
thing is, Blake, is that this year I'm lucky. Daryl hears about it all the time, but I'm a Limber pine cone. Taylor and Alex were
nice.
able to choose me as a pine cone, and I was so pumped of everything that has to do with Limber. That was so exciting. And then I find out Casey Hannemeyer's sponsored by you guys, and I'm like, wow, how could it get any better? And now you're telling me that the Limber Open that I'm invited to is going to have beer anywhere on the course.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I go wrong?
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun disc-filled summer.
Yeah,
That's
that's
fun.
amazing.
Yeah.
Like, so as you were saying earlier, like you were registering for people, like registering for the tournaments, and like that was one of the purposes I wanted to start a tour, was because it just seemed like a lot of people didn't really want to stay in Alberta for tournaments, other than like the main ones like Spring Runoff, River City, Lost Egg, Falcons Flight, like type thing. Like those were the 4 main ones that we ran in Alberta, right? And like then there was a couple of the smaller tournaments that they're not really small, but they just weren't recognized as much, right? So that was one of the reasons I wanted to start a tournament, a tour, was to try to keep people in Alberta this year, right?
Right.
And I just so happen, like, I'm just really good friends with Serge Goslin there, and I've always loved the Kootenay Up and Down, and honestly, really for you guys it's a little bit further, but for people from Calgary and Lethbridge, it's like going to Edmonton. Right? It's only like, I mean, most people say it's a 4-hour drive. I do it in 3.5.
Yeah, I've heard that said about Edmonton to Calgary, and I agree. It's never as long as people say it is. So
But yeah, that was one of the things that I really wanted. Reasons I really wanted to start a tour was to try to keep people in Alberta, and have something for people to play for. Right? I'm not just going to this tournament to do to try to win just this tournament. Now it's like, now I'm there for 2 purposes, not just to win the tournament, but to also see if I can get as many points as I possibly can.
Yeah.
For the tour, right?
And like you said before, like if you're in 2 of the tournaments, well, now it's like, oh, well, maybe I was on the border about registering for this 3rd one, but now that I know that it's going to be more points, cumulative, you're more
Mhm.
likely to go and visit those other tournaments, right?
Totally. Yeah. So
Well,
Absolutely.
and Blake, I should ask you too, while I'm bouncing back and forth here, maybe the icing on the cake face. See, I got the dad puns intended there.
Nice.
Is there any chance, and I don't want to be bursting any bubbles if you guys are already thinking about something like this, but is there any chance that we might see, I know you don't want to be called a brewmaster, but one of your brewmaster beers, that there might be a disc golf related one coming our way?
So yeah, this is. I actually had a conversation with one of the owners, Hans from Blind Man Brewing, who they're also
Okay.
like big supporters of the community, and we're really good friends with those guys. And I don't want to give it up because it's a hilarious pun, but we've been talking about doing a collab together for over a year now. We just need to get organized and do it, and it's going to be all about disc golf and the
Awesome.
name and everything. It's very funny. I can't release it yet because it'll be a surprise, and then portion of the like proceeds from the sales will go to support all the various municipal disc golf clubs around the province as well. So
That's
we really,
so cool.
I'm not sure if we're going to get it done. It's already kind of summer's almost here already, but if not this year, at one day we will have a disc golf themed beer released for sure.
Well, that is
Perfect.
amazing, Blake, because I know I've traveled down through Lacombe and I'll stop at Blind Man here and there. And I knew they were a supporter because when I went in there, they had a shark on the wall
Yeah,
with Blind Man on there. So I have that one in my collection
Sweet.
of discs because I was like, what? I can have a disc golf disc with a beer on it as well? Like with the,
right?
it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we can do some sort of collaboration with us, Jeremy. Maybe we can get involved in it sometime in the future as well.
We can collab by drinking it, that's for sure.
Oh, there
Yeah,
we
we
go.
can tell you guys.
As far as we go.
Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. So with all, I'm guessing too, is as you were looking at the tournaments there, and as you said, you're helping them by supporting with money. It was probably, at first I was going to say, how did you get 13 tournaments on board? But I guess when you say, hey, I've got some money for you, you want to be part of my tour, it was probably a pretty easy no-brainer for a lot of the tournaments, or?
No, I kind of wouldn't pick and choose which tournaments I kind of wanted to be in it, and I kind of talked to Wally
Yes.
down in your guys' end and been like, hey, which tournaments do you think are worthy of being a part of the tour, right? So like this year things will change a little bit for next year, but this year I kind of wanted to bring in the people that were dedicated to running the tournaments well,
Yeah.
right? Not just somebody that runs a tournament, right? So that's kind of why like I ended up, his name Kyle Warren, I ended up talking with him out of Fort Mac
McMurray.
there.
Yep.
Yeah. And he was super like, yeah, man, I want to be involved. Like he's super enthusiastic to like running his tournament, kind of like the way I was like 2 years ago, right? Like I mean, I've kind of come down a little bit on my enthusiasm for running the tournaments, but it's just a lot of work, right? But he was very enthusiastic about it and wanted to be a part of the tour, and so I ended up bringing him on board. And then Wally told me about the Drayton Valley tournament, that he always runs a great tournament. And
The Night Owl, yeah.
yeah, and then I wanted to have more than one A tier on the docket, right? And after last year with how well the Gold Eagle,
yeah.
the Gold Eagle was ran, I wanted to bring him on board as on board for this year as well, just because I wanted to have two A tier tournaments. And right, it's a little bit easier for me to go to the PDGA and be like, hey, I got two A tier tournaments, how much money you want to give me?
Right.
Right. So like the PDGA will be sponsoring by a little bit. So as of right now, we're going to be having, well, like at every tournament we'll have flags for Cole Garden Cup, Cole Garden, and most likely Limber. And so right now I'm trying to bring on the three main retailers in Alberta. So like JK, ER, and Limber, and
all great groups of people for sure.
Mm-hmm. And so Don's Disc Golf will also be involved in some capacity. As of right now, I wish I could bring it up and show you guys. So the guy at Don's is also doing shirt printing now. He does shirt printing out of his basement. So that's going to be his way that he sponsors the tour a little bit. Is I'm going to start putting out shirts and hoodies and stuff to fundraise some more money, right? And my discs should be here. I should be ordering discs fundraiser discs. I think I'm going to have a very limited quantity on fundraiser discs for the Cold Garden Cup, though. I'm thinking I'll probably have about 50 of them, and they should be here probably within anywhere from 4 to 8 weeks, depending on how Innova
Okay.
gets them to me. So I'm ordering those discs with my Lost Egg discs, but just to save on shipping.
Yeah.
So I'll have those up for sale hopefully within the next month and a half. Innova's been pretty good at turnaround. The last year they were, at least it was generally like a month by the time they were sending my
We've heard
stuff
nothing
out.
good.
So
Nothing.
Yeah,
but
we've heard
about
all
Innova.
good.
Yeah.
yeah,
EDGA's done a really good job with doing some Edmonton Disc Golf Association discs. We've seen those. And,
Yeah.
you know, seeing the logo that you guys have come up with for the Lost Egg, that's going to look fantastic on the discs. Now, with the Cold Garden Cup tournament series, as we were talking about it too, one of the other ones, the first event has already actually happened, and that was She's Up First this past weekend. And
Yeah.
now we saw that if it's still part of the way the tournament's going to be planned, is that the two women's events, they're going to be worth double points in the tour. And then
So-
you've got some other tournaments that are going to be worth single and 1.5. Do I understand that right?
So most of the tournaments will be worth single.
Yep.
Like the She's Up First is worth 2.
Yep.
With the times 2. Spring Runoff ladies only will be times 2.
Yep.
Spring Runoff just because it's a WGE and CWE event as well.
Right.
And then Falcon's Flight and the
Gold
Eagle will be worth 1.5.
And then Crush will be worth 2 as well, right? Then
Which will be worth 2 as well. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
so that's a cool thing too, because that really gives a good balance and will also help. One of the things that we do on our podcast is we've been trying to promote women's disc golf whenever we can and try to get more women into the sport. So the fact that they can compete in these tournaments and get double points, and these are women's tournaments, that's just going to help those CWE events, those WGE events grow. And just looking at She's Up First, there were 50 participants in it. They almost had a full 72. It's like,
That's so
it's just
awesome.
amazing to see.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that I've been an advocate of as well, is bringing getting the females in more and giving them more. And it was just awesome that the PDGA did that last year for us, where we were allowed to allow like ladies to register early without it counting against our 33% registration, right? So like, I don't know if you guys know, running a PDGA sanction, we're only allowed 30% of early registration for like hole sponsors and stuff.
Okay.
So women don't count against that, which is awesome. Women, juniors, and 50 plus masters, I believe, don't count against it. The reason they did 50 plus masters is because I don't think masters is actually as sought after in the States as it is here. Like, a lot of tournaments in Canada don't, like, we offered it last year, but like last year I lost out on a lot of hole sponsors in both Falcons and the Lost Egg because of not having
the rules there. Yeah.
the not allowing the 50 pluses to register earlier, right? Like,
Right.
so this year a lot of tournaments are kind of in Canada are kind of leaning away from allowing the masters to sign up early for early registration, just because of, not saying that we don't want you guys there, but we always have such a good turnout.
Well, the thing is
for the 50 plus, like Lost Egg is like, I'd have to say about a third of them are 50 plus people in Lost Egg right now, right? And but that's being said, is a lot of, or even just masters, I guess, so 40 plus.
Well, and we can tell you that too, Jordan, is just by looking. Now, obviously, a lot of us in Wally's 100 were in that age group that know Wally, but the biggest, isn't it right now, Daryl? The biggest tier is the MA40 group at Wally's 100. There's more people in that group than there is in any of the other tiers at the moment. So.
Yeah.
Same with Lost Egg. So Lost Egg right now, MP40 is like
MP40. Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Yeah,
is so much
MP40
more, has so many more registered, right?
Well, Blake, I want to keep you in the conversation here. So another question for you would be, what is it about disc golf that kind of jives to you with Cold Garden, and why you guys wanted to actually be a part of this tour and this series and to be a part of disc golf altogether?
I mean, I love the game. You know, I love the community around the game. I love the simplicity of the game. I love the affordability of the game until I got addicted to buying discs.
I think we've all been there.
And so, you know, Cold Garden, that's my baby. I've been running it for a few years with a buddy now, and it was just like finally having the resources to kind of be able to support the disc golf community. And it's kind of a niche thing. A lot of people still don't know. You know, it surprises me because it's such a big part of my life. But you know, there's a lot of people that still have no idea what the game is or what those weird baskets are in the parks that they walk their dog. And so we have a pretty large platform at Cold Garden to you know, spread the good word. So a couple of years ago, we started selling our own discs, and then now that we're doing the tournament and promoting it on our social media, I'm hoping it just brings more people, brings more casual players to the tournament scene, or brings people just into the game. You know, and so it's just kind of being an advocate for it, and yeah, just finally having the opportunity to do so.
And like you said, even if they don't even come into the game, just bringing them in as spectators.
Yeah, that's that's why we're at the Limber Open specifically. We have that Saturday night kind of. There's a fun round, like a flex round, not involved in the tournament, and then we're gonna have the band. We'll have music playing the whole night, and we're trying to get people out there to watch and then just hang out and maybe throw their first disc and you know, grow the game. That's the goal.
Yeah, even if they don't pick up a disc, even if they don't throw one, at least they'll know not to, you know, when they're walking across the fairway and they see people waiting somewhere with discs in their hand and there's a basket on the other end of the fairway. Yeah, maybe they'll know not to walk right in front of it.
And totally, and to just like introducing people, like disc golfers are just the friendliest people, you know. Like there's this ingrained inclusivity, like just welcome all comers who want to play, and you know that's a real tenet of Cold Garden's business is inclusivity and just like allowing everybody to, you know, enjoy the space. And I find that like the more people that get introduced to the game and just disc golfers in general, it's just awesome, because I've never heard somebody that started playing. This is true. I've never heard someone start playing and be like, I don't like that, or I don't like those people, or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
I say like, it's frustrating that I can't score a birdie from 5 feet away, you know, but you know, you keep coming back. So, yeah, just being able to kind of spread that is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and Blake,
what
so
better
the
way
nice
to
thing,
do it than with beer?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of where I was going to go with it too, Daryl, was a matter of like knowing how much you guys are supporting disc golf now. Then anybody listening here, whether they're in Lethbridge, whether they're in Fort McMurray, Edmonton, Calgary, wherever they happen to be, obviously if you're in the Calgary area, they can support by heading down and going to the brewery. And from the sounds of it, you're saying you guys actually have Cold Garden discs there for sale as well, on top of beer?
Yeah, we have. We don't sell a lot of discs, but it was more so just, it was more of a project so that I could have discs with my logo on it, you know. And you have to buy a minimum run of them. We sell a few in the summer, but yeah, it's actually a funny, if you'll ever see it, all of those can labels that you guys have.
Yes.
So the discs are kind of modeled after that. So like the IPA that's called This Must Be the IPA, our disc is called This Must Be the Fairway Driver. And it's that exact image, but the guy's throwing a disc in between the hop fields. And so we have 4 different discs, and each one's kind of matched to the can design. But yeah, we got those there. And then, we got a huge tap room and a patio. And we just love having people down.
Well, and on top of that, is we can prove too, right, Daryl, is that we're up in Edmonton, and when Daryl went and looked on where can you buy Cold Garden, there had to be at least a dozen places. So we both were able to find our beer as we needed to pick it up. So that was great. So you guys are pretty much in liquor stores all the way across from Fort McMurray all the way down to Lethbridge and everywhere in between.
Yep. Yeah. We there's a liquor distributor in the province that called Liquor Connect, and we ship our stuff up there, and then it kind of goes everywhere.
That being said, to that story, that was kind of one of the purposes that me and Blake came together, was because he was kind of wanting to expand through Alberta a little bit more over this year, right? So
yeah,
we're kind of like, that's a big way to support Cold Garden outside of Calgary, right, as well. So
yeah. Well, the one thing I've noticed, guys, is that we've been talking for a little while, and Jordan, we're going to have another conversation with it to capture some of the other things we want to talk about. But one thing, and I'm famous for my segues. Hey, Daryl, I think is what you'd say. I would say, my segue here is that you might end up down in Drumheller there, like you said, in the summer, and it's going to be super hot. It's going to be desert-like hot, if anything, is what I would think. And you're probably going to be parched, needing a nice Cold Garden beer. But it almost leads us to something else, wouldn't it, Daryl?
Oh, you think it might do, Jeremy? That was a very nice segue. if you've, I don't know if either of you have caught a chance to watch one of our episodes, but there's a little segment on our show, and I'll just play the intro right now.
Now it's time for Desert Island Discs. Picture this. You've taken a relaxing cruise, however the ship goes down. You manage to swim to an island. And fortunately for you, there's an 18-hole disc golf course. Which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island?
So now you guys
as
can
average
think
disc
about it. But
golfers
go ahead,
yourself,
Daryl.
yeah, as avid disc golfers, everybody's got their own bag, and everybody's got those discs that they like to hold on to. So yeah, in that scenario, which 3 discs are you taking with you on the island? Which 3 discs could you not live without?
Well, can I cheat and say like some like floating discs so that I can build a raft and get off the island? No.
You know, you're not the first person to actually really think about your answer and think about how you're going to survive on this island. It's a fictitious island. It doesn't exist.
Well, but Blake, what if this is the best disc golf? Because we've
No,
kind of played it that way.
exactly.
This is the best disc golf course you'd ever seen. Why would you even want to leave?
In reality, yeah. As soon as I heard that intro, I was like, well, maybe just leave me there. And
Exactly.
but yeah, personally, I mean, I'm an Innova guy.
Typically, in the past, we've always done 1 putter, 1 mid, 1 driver, but people keep breaking the rules, and there are no rules. We call them rules, but they're very lax. So,
They're
whichever
whatever
3
you
discs
want
you
'em
want to
to be.
take.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm an Innova guy. I have probably 80 to 90 discs in my garage, but I just continue to buy AVRs, rocks, and leopard trees and throwing them, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe a Mako in there every once in a while, but those are my 3. I don't know. And like I said, I'm not very good, so I can't really throw anything harder than a leopard, and that's probably it's a boring answer, but I think that's it.
No, that's quick though. An AVR, a rock, and a leopard 3. That would be what you'd take.
Yeah.
And what about you, Jordan?
So most people would think that I'm a huge Paul Macbeth fan, which I am a Paul Macbeth fan, but I'd have to say Yuli is probably my favorite player.
Oh, he's great.
Good. Yeah.
Just as like his personality is just awesome. Like,
And a great putter.
yeah. But that being said, so my 3 discs that I would probably take with me would be a Luna, a Passion, and I mean I haven't been getting along with my Hades lately because it's been flipping on me too much. But a Hades is generally those are my 3 staple discs in my bag.
Nice.
Yeah.
What
I
about
think,
you?
Daryl, those are new discs, aren't they? For Desert Island, maybe?
Yeah, we've never had those before. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had.
AVR, rock, and leopard.
No, I think they're all of them are.
Which is awesome.
Yeah,
That's
6
awesome.
brand
What
new
kind of
discs.
people
That's
are
awesome.
picking? Those are the only 3 discs. I don't know. I don't even know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've talked about having a bracket, Blake and Jordan, where we pit them all against each other and see which ones win. We've got lots of ideas. It's, as you guys know, you can have a lot of ideas, but getting them executed takes some time. So
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Which ones to focus on? That's the thing.
It's funny because as Blake's a big Innova guy, my bag is pretty much Discraft,
okay.
but I don't order from Discraft. Like it's just Innova's just so much like it's just not superior, I guess you could say, but they're easier to sell, I guess, more or less than a Discraft. Because I did both last year for Lost Egg, and I ended up having a bunch of Discraft left over, which I end up generally when I have leftover stuff from my tournament, I try to give it to other tournaments as like a raffle prize, right?
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
it's not just sitting around my house and collecting dust type thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, guys, before we let you go, is there anything we want to give you a moment, because we kind of talked about a lot of the things that we wanted to get covered, but is there anything you want to shout out or make sure our listeners know, whether it's about Cold Garden Cup or about Cold Garden or about any of the other tournaments you got going on? But go ahead and take a minute there and anything that we didn't cover you wanted to talk on.
I think we got it covered. I guess what I'd like to say is for those people that, you know, like the supporters, I'm guessing anybody watching your podcast knows a lot about disc golf and a lot about Alberta disc golf. So, one great way to support the tournaments if you're not playing is get out and watch them. You know, like I said, we're trying to build the culture and bring more people to it. And I have a dream of one day having a tournament in Calgary, and it'll be like the Waste Management Open in Phoenix, where they have, you know, stands lining like hole 3 at Curry, and there's people on each side screaming at, you know. So we're gonna get there, and so let's everybody just get out and enjoy the games.
Don't give up on the dream. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Awesome, Blake. And Jordan?
So the one thing I kind of wanted to bring up too was just kind of points wise for the tour, because I haven't really posted anything about how the points are accumulated, like how your points are being
Okay, yeah.
earned, right? So what we're doing is each player will receive 1 point for each player they beat per division. So say you're in a 24 person division and you come in first, you'll get 24 points, but if you come in first, you'll also get an extra 5 points on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you come in second, you'll get another 3 points on top of that. And then if you come in first, you'll just get another extra point, right?
Okay.
As of right now, our FPO leader is Jody Rooney.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
With 26 points there, with big win that she's up first for Jody. Congrats.
Yeah.
Well, we got a chance real quick there, Jordan, to watch that final hole, and Jody was going in with a 2-stroke lead, and the other 3 ladies on the card were doing everything they could to catch up, and it ended up with Jody winning by 1 stroke, and then the 3 other ladies all tied for second. So if you guys haven't seen it, we did a little interview afterwards with Jody and got a chance to kind of do the DGPT Pro Tour style of how did you feel about your event, Jody? And we felt pretty good about it. So we hope to do more of those.
Yeah. Yeah. What was another thing I wanted to bring up quickly here? I can't remember now.
Yeah. So congratulations, Jody. But go ahead.
Yeah. Another couple things. So, as most people would know, Falcon's Flight hole sponsors open today.
Yes.
I don't think we have very many spots left. I think there's my phone has been going crazy since 7:00. I actually had to put it on mute at one point. So I think we have like 14 or let's see here. Register.
Well, we were talking earlier, Blake.
8 spots left.
8 spots left. One of those is filled by Daryl, so he's going to be there.
I got in early. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Jana will be representing there.
And then another thing too, I guess I'd bring up is Falcon's Flight. General Reg opens on May 15th, so next Wednesday. And then the Cold Garden Limber Open registration opens for ladies on Friday.
Okay.
And then I believe it's a couple days after that, or it's like a week after that, they have early registration for their Cold Garden Nomies.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if I don't know what that actually means, but
May 17th for the early access for women's divisions, May 20th for the Cold Garden Nomi Early Birdie.
Yeah.
And May 24th is open registration for everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, and we'd say is that most of our listeners should probably know is that keep an eye on disc golf scene. But one of the big things, and even Daryl and I learned it this year, was don't just use it to search for your tournament. If you start following those tournaments, then you're going to get emails all the time. You're going to get emails about all of these registrations when they open up. If there's any changes to courses, anytime someone posts a question about it, you find out about that right away. So that is got to be, in my mind, the best way to follow these tournaments and get those early registrations when they happen.
That as well as like Instagram and Facebook. You can follow me at Alway Disc Golf, and you can Blake at the Cold Garden Cup or Cold Garden Cup Instagram. I have an Instagram for Lost Egg as well. We do most of our posts for Falcon's Flight through Aspen Meadows Disc Golf Club, and I think Limber is a big supporter of posting stuff like for the tournaments on their stories, at least for the big tournaments and stuff, and trying to bring the community together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we'll make sure when we put up our summary there on the episode, we'll tag all of those different Instagram handles in there too. So anybody who wants to follow and is not sure, they'll know exactly how to find you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Coldgarden.ca as well. Throw that in there.
Yeah. Well, awesome, guys. Well, we appreciate having you both on the show and looking so forward to coming down and meeting you too when we're at some of these events and having some Cold Garden beer maybe in person with you there, Blake, and we can all cheers and celebrate disc golf together.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, guys.
Cool.
Hey, no worries. Thank you very much, guys.
You bet.
No problem. Thank you.
It was great to be on.
Yeah.
This is my first podcast I've been on, so
you did awesome, man.
Awesome.
You did fantastic.
Awesome.
Blake's an old hand. He's been on lots before, right?
Been a couple. Yeah. Doesn't make, I still find myself fumbling around though. Trying to get the right word.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we do that too, definitely.
Yeah.
And sometimes the wrong word comes out, so then that also makes it fun as well.
Or you fall off your chair.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was you
classic.
rolled with that literally and figuratively. It was all good.
Yeah.
If you follow us on Instagram, you may just happen to see that again. You never know.
I will definitely look forward to it.
Yeah.
And I will most likely repost it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, awesome guys. Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
guys. We'll talk to
Oh,
you soon.
thanks, guys. Have
Sounds
a good
good.
one.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl, look at that. We had another episode. We had 2 guests on at the same time. That's a first for us.
Well, yeah. No, it was a great episode. I kind of got lost in, I got lost in my own little world there for a while. So I know you. I'm so glad that you were able to take over the reins and keep the podcast rolling along. When I finally just gave up on trying to be able to fix the technical issues, I had no clue where we were, what questions you'd asked already. So I didn't want to ask a question that had already been asked. So I just kind of I just went with it. So yeah, good job for you to keep the ship rolling.
Well, the thing is I think we like to talk about that a bit, and I really do feel that we make a great team. You're keeping an eye on the technical side of things, and I could see that. I could see you were feverishly working, and having Rue's whistle come in there was just I guess as we were talking about the icing on the cake face. That's
yeah. The way
what
I
it was.
see it is, you're the captain of the ship in his suit up on the deck steering the ship, and I'm the engineer down in the engine room trying to make things work from behind the scenes. But
yeah, I'm keeping everybody calm while you're feverishly fixing it and making
while I'm
sure we
going
don't
down
sink.
with the ship, yeah, nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong at all. But no,
Yeah.
they were great guests. Jordan, lots of information. What a guy. What how he like he said, he's going to school right now, but he's got some spare time. But how he manages to put all these different hats on and make sure everything's running as smoothly as it does, hats off to him. Sorry for the pun there, but and then Blake. It's one of those dream jobs for me. I mean, whether I've mentioned it on the podcast before, I mean, it's one of those things when you say to somebody, "Oh yeah, I used to DJ," people come up to you and they say, "Oh yeah, I used to DJ," and you think, "Okay, well, I don't need to hear that." So
Right.
when he said that he was, we obviously knew that he was a brewmaster or whatever. I didn't want to say, "Well, I brew beer," but yeah, no, kudos for him for following his passion and doing what he likes, and then being able to take it that next step further and actually bring it into the disc golf community as well.
Yeah, like joining 2 of his passions and putting it's good enough just to have one passion. We all want that, and to be able to participate in it, and for him to be able to take his disc golf and his love of beer and have a business and all of these things, that it was amazing. And when we put together our outline too, Daryl, we knew ahead of time with Jordan that he had, as you said, so many hats, whether it's his Alberta PDJ coordinator, which we really didn't touch on, how much he's involved with Falcon's Flight. We didn't get a chance to get there. We got a good coverage of Lost Egg, but that's one of those things with, well, maybe whether we can put some stuff up through some Instagram posts or try and get some clips from Jordan on some other items. But he's just so involved in doing so many good things. Mm-hmm. So although we may not have covered it, know that he's the Alberta PDGA coordinator. He has a lot of say and help in organizing the B tiers and C tiers in Alberta, and possibly even some of the A tiers. He can facilitate with the PDGA for anybody in our community, for a lot of our disc golf associations. If they have some stuff that they need to get advice from PDGA or get back and forth, he can be that conduit to do that. And then on top of that, Falcon's Flight, like another tournament that's been around now for 15 years, Rudy Faulkner's, a person in the community who is so loved, and and everyone was heartbroken when he passed away. That it's great that Jordan's been able to help continue that tournament and keep that legend and that memory of Rudy going. So, thanks a lot to Jordan for all of those things we're doing. And sorry we didn't get to cover it all, but we are very happy with everything he's doing, and very thankful at the same time as well.
Yeah, and actually just looking at the events right now. Limber Open, July 20th and 21st. And then we have a bit of a break until Lost Egg. Well, I say a bit of a break. It's like a week, 2 weeks. August 2nd to the 4th, and then Falcon's Flight is August 30th to September 1st. So we've got plenty of time that if we want to revisit Falcon's Flight, we can always have him back on again a bit later on in the year, and see how he's going with that, and if there's any changes and things like that. So we can always have him back on again, because if there's one thing I'll say about Jordan, you're going to get information. He's not shy about talking, so we can definitely have him on and get more information from him later on if we need to.
Always. Get what I did there?
See?
So, as we wrap up the show here, one thing we kind of mentioned it there towards the end of the episode when Jordan brought up Jody Rooney, was you and I actually got a chance to do a small part and be part of She's Up First last week as volunteers. And we got to see, probably to me, obviously the best tournament of the year so far. It was just amazing, but like just to see when you have a great tournament director and a great group of people and everybody coming together in the community, everything about Saturday was amazing. She's Up First was fantastic. I don't know how you felt, but I'm still in awe over the event on the weekend.
Yeah, no, I mean, everything, like you said, everything about it was great. Everything was like the most amount of people that, it's been growing year on year. So we, like you said before, we had 51 registered, 50 people showed up. One person was sick, but 50 people in the event. The way that Kristen Swirls was able to organize everything and keep everything running, and organizing the volunteers to do what we had to do. Check-in went smoothly. Everybody grabbed a disc. Everybody knew their tee times. Everybody was out there on the course. The fantastic way that she had it set up so that in the first round, there were mixed cards. So you weren't just playing with your age group. You were being able to, play with different people at different standards. Even down to, things like the little, well, not little by any means, because some of them were like 3 or 4 feet tall, but the messages that they had on the course on the tee pads for some of the ladies, before they stepped up to their shot, and then the ceremony and the trophies, and I could go on, but everything about the tournament was just so fantastic.
Well, and think about it. The lunch was fantastic. We had all these sponsors that were there. We had the disc. We had Wildman was there. JK was there. Terry Hong had some discs for sale. We were getting people coming to the event just who weren't even playing in it. They were coming and they were shopping and being part. The plant trophies, like that was a really neat, like a living trophy that Kristen was able to put together. And to me, I was still laughing, Daryl, was some of the different awards that were given away. Longest drive. Well, how far did you throw? 450 feet?
Yeah.
No. It's nothing to do with that. It's like, how far did you drive to get here? That's the longest drive.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then friend of the show. Well, do we? Well, oh no, I guess Tim Plamondon already outed him. So friend of the show, Mark Thompson, one of the spotters, was in charge of the cleanest kicks or the sharpest kicks, and he ended up giving out 2 awards for that. So friend of the show, Sonia, was at the event as well, and she had a blast. She had a great time. So hopefully we'll see her at another event in the future.
Well, we should congratulate Sonia. She won an award as well.
She won an award. She won a prize for answering a trivia question.
Yes.
She ended up with a whole bunch of discs that she took away with her, so she had a great time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that was Sonia's first event. So hopefully that left I think it did, but hopefully it left a good taste in her mouth, or whatever you want to say about disc golf and about disc golf tournaments. And, maybe when the Crush comes up or one of those other events, she'll be interested in being part of that too.
You never know, Jeremy. Yeah.
You never know, right? Lots of time to figure that one out.
Yeah.
But so I want to just say thanks, Kristen Swirls, for putting together an awesome event. And thanks for allowing us to be part of it and just see what a great event is like.
Yeah. 2 things I'd like to add is, we were talking to her after the event, and it was kind of half said in fun, but actually the area, if you've ever been to Hermitage, the area where Tournament Central was the picnic area, just off the car park. And it was to the point where, what's going to happen next year when we get more women registered is Tournament Central going to be big enough? We had JK Dis there. We had Kevin from Redhead Woodworking there as well. Wildman was there; he was set up. So, the more people that we get to show up to these events, we're going to have to look for a bigger area, or maybe even have to spill out maybe into the parking lot to accommodate everybody.
Yeah. Well,
The second thing that I wanted to say, but I'm going to keep stalling and I'm going to keep talking because in a minute it'll come to me.
all right. Well, while you're
Nope, you go
thinking
ahead.
about the second event too, the
Oh,
one other thing, the last sponsor I want to mention too is Riva, which is one of our listeners, Dylan
Yeah.
Froelic's company. They were actually able to sponsor, and not only did they sponsor, Dylan's partner played,
yeah.
as well as
His
his mom
mom?
and dad were
Yeah.
kind enough to drive out to Devon and bring those amazing lunches with those salads in the jars and that for us. So that
Yeah.
was so fantastic. We really appreciate that, all their involvement into the tournament as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what, like you said about the fact that after the event, we were able to snag Jody for an interview.
Yes.
So if you want to go back and if you didn't get a chance to watch it, go and check our Instagram. Look for the live feed of Chain Out Podcast own Jeremy Power interviewing FPO winner Jody Rooney.
And Chain Out's own Daryl behind the camera there, making sure it all happened.
Yeah, waiting for Kristen Thrills to finish her announcements, which are important.
They definitely were.
Yeah.
And now another thing is, we were talking tonight about Cold Garden Brewery or beverage company, but there's also another beer company that's in Edmonton, which is Sea Change. And this year they've sponsored Bailey's Disc Golf, and it's now got a longer name. It's the Sea Change Brewing Disc Golf Park at Bailey's Crossing. Did I get that right?
I think you've added extra words onto it. I don't know if it's all that.
Well,
sure,
I think
we'll
it's
go with
all
that.
that in a side of fries, right?
All that on a bag of chips.
Yeah,
Sea
exactly.
Change Brewing Disc Golf Park at
Bailey's Crossing. So one of the things they're doing is this weekend on Saturday, May 11th,
Yeah.
they are opening up the course for anybody to play at no charge at all.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So I think I'm going to try and get out there. I know you're a little busy, but anybody who's getting out there, I should be out there early on Saturday morning, getting 1 or 2 rounds if I can. I've been beat up by Bailey's a few times. I'm wondering what it'll be this year. It'll be the first time I'm out at the course, so I'm excited to get out there.
Yeah, and I know they're making some changes to the course as well, so I'll be excited to see what changes they are making to the course.
Yeah. And then I think one of the other things we had on the kind of wrap up here was we always like to talk about the Canadian pros that are playing down on the DGPT.
That's we kind of teased it in the last episode. We mentioned that Thomas was the only one playing at the DDO, correct?
And I don't know where we got our information because that was not correct, Daryl.
Oh,
it turned out that maybe he was registered for it, but he ended up not playing.
Oh.
And what I did notice was he ended up heading back up to Canada, and he played in the Christie Lake Spring Fling out at Christie Lake Conservation Area, which is one of those few Ontario courses I've played.
You know what, Jeremy? I should read the script more.
No, it's what it was. You're right. We thought he was playing at DDO, and then he must have not played.
Right.
So actually, last week we had no Canadian players at DDO.
There's nothing of interest on that.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Calvin won, whatever.
Okay, so now I'm reading the script. At one point, Thomas was registered for DDO, at least we thought, but he went back up to Canada, played Christie Lake Spring Fling, placed 6th in that tournament.
Yes.
With Martin Hendel, who won the event.
That's right. Martin Hendel won
Martin
the event.
Hendel. Martin Hendel, an MPO Canadian disc golfer, actually went down to the American Flying Disc Open. The very same event that Chantal Badinsky was the first Canadian to ever win a DGTP Pro Tour event.
Nice.
And of course, Max Rajitnik.
Yeah.
He was at Discmania's 303 Open, an 8-year DGTP Q series in Colorado.
And you know what those Q series are, hey? Because we've actually got one in Canada coming up in the fall.
I do, Jeremy, but if you just like to explain it for the listeners, anyone who doesn't know what the Q series is, why don't you go ahead and tell them
I'm
about?
going to make up what the Q stands for. I'm going to say it's for qualifier series. I don't know if that's exactly what it's for.
Series, but yeah, you say what you want to say, what it's called.
Okay, yeah. But with the Q series, what those are is I think where the Disc Golf Pro Tour is trying to get to is that if you want to get your tour card, this is a way for you to earn it, right? Is to get the points.
Tour card, yeah.
So, You're hilarious.
I try. But also, Aaron Gossage, Holly Finley will be there at that event as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of neat. There is a
Yeah.
couple pros. I don't know what the rules are. I know they didn't want a lot of pros heading to those Q series because
Yeah.
if you've already got your card, then you've got your
Exactly.
card.
Yeah.
So
And I think it's been mentioned before about those sort of events. If you want to go there, go there. It's fine, but you don't get the prize money. You don't get the qualifying points. You don't get to, none of that matters. If you've already got your pro tour, or
mhm.
if you're just doing it because you've got nothing to do that weekend and you want to, just keep your body moving, then that's fine. But just don't go in there, muscle your way in there because you wanted to take a quick, easy victory because of the other players that might be on the card or on the event. So,
well, especially now
Yeah.
with how many tournaments there are out there, if they're looking to get a win and make some money on an A tier or a B tier, there's a lot of other ones. Don't go to the Q series and take that away from all the players who are trying to work their way up to the tour.
yeah, exactly.
So, and then I guess what do we got coming up? The Maylong weekend's coming up soon. You and I are going to be heading down to Spring Runoff with a lot of our Edmonton friends and listeners.
Yeah, there's quite a few of us heading down there, so stay tuned. Somebody in the Edmonton disc golf community is putting something together. So if you're heading down there, you probably get a text, a Facebook message, an Instagram, a carrier pigeon, a smoke signal, some
An
way
in-person
of
high five and
yeah, exactly. Something will be happening down in Lethbridge, but we're heading down there with a friend of the show, Mark Thompson, and
Yes.
also somebody we've mentioned before, Tyler Edwards.
he's going to be
Lots
joining
of other
us.
people will be heading down there as well.
Yeah. And that same
Excuse me.
weekend, just with the Canadian pros, we're going to have the Foxwood Open is going to be happening out in Baden, Ontario.
Yeah.
And both Thomas Gilbert and Chantal Badinsky will be out there. So they've kind
Are
of,
you sure?
yes, I'm
Have
sure on
you've
that
done
one.
your research on that one?
They are registered. They are registered for the event. So
Okay,
that's
we'll see.
usually
We'll
what
let
I
you
go
know.
by. Whether they show up or not, I don't know. But
Exactly. No, I don't think Thomas or Chantal would miss that one. They like you said, they registered, and yeah, they'll bill in our fantasy picks next week.
that's right. So
Stay
definitely
tuned
stay
for
tuned for
that.
that episode.
Yeah, it'll be on this channel. It'll just be a separate episode. So stay tuned. You'll get it'll be a pre-recorded, like we said earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you with a special guest each week. First week, Tim Blamondon.
And we got a number of other ones at least lined up on paper. We'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah.
Well, Daryl, we made it through another episode.
Yeah, it was a tough one, but we got through it. For
The
me,
boat
anyway.
might be need a little repairs when we get it back to shore, but we made it back to shore.
We made it back to shore. Time to put the boat in dry dock, Jeremy.
Yeah,
Strike the
well,
barnacles off the bottom.
I'm going to put it on to you here is that we need a secret word for anyone who was a big trooper and put their life jacket on and stayed on the boat with us this long.
Exactly. Put it out in the chat. Oh, hey, you're very welcome, Jordan. Thank you for being on. Something that we do at the end of every episode is that we do a secret word. And what we hope to try and get is people leave a comment on our YouTube video, but they don't just put the secret word. They have to try and put the secret word into a sentence, a paragraph. Oh, Jeremy, you're so good at this. Okay, who's going to vote for cake face? Should we have cake face as the secret word?
Yeah,
works
I
for
think
me.
they should. I think we should. Cake face has got to be the word.
Tune
I've
out,
already-
Dylan. Thank you.
Thanks for joining, Dylan.
I mean, I like this picture.
I like that picture for sure.
I'm just holding it up to have a chance to show a naked man on camera. I think we're going with cake face. If no one else is going to come up with anything different,
Throw it in there for us. Yeah, give us a comment. Let's see one with cake face. It'll be good. Sonia's voting for it.
Sonia's
That's
voting
enough for
cake
me.
face. We got to vote for cake face. No one else is coming out with anything different. So, last few weeks, people haven't been putting the secret word in the comments.
Well, I think a lot of people have been listening live, a lot of our loyal listeners there, so it's kind of different putting a comment on there. But anybody who's hung in on this one, we appreciate it. If you had a comment, that's great too.
Even
And
if you've watched live, find the video and go back, and you don't have to watch it again, although we would appreciate it for the views. But if you want to go back and just leave a comment on the video, we'd very much appreciate it. And tell all
And
your friends, because we're at 154 subscribers. We seem to get a lot of followers on Instagram, And if we could only transfer those across to YouTube, we would appreciate it.
That
And
would
don't
be
forget
great.
to leave a review on Spotify and Apple as well. If you're listening to this, if you've made it made it this far into the podcast,
Yeah, we'd appreciate it for
why not
sure.
drop a review?
So Daryl,
It's
I'm going
free,
to do this one quick.
This is free. Do you know
So
we
let's-
don't charge for this, Jeremy?
No, we don't.
No,
this is
free.
just
We do this
free
out-
for your ears.
Oh, Jordan just said 155. Thank you, Jordan. If you were number 155, I appreciate it. Oh, we appreciate it.
100% we do.
Well, you always ask me, Jeremy,
Yeah.
but let's say, well, I'll let you finish it. I'm not even going to suggest anything.
Well, let's just say maybe I was heading down to the Lost Egg,
Yeah.
and possibly I met Terry Hong down there and I wanted to get an autograph. Well, what I'd probably do is maybe grab this disc from behind me here.
That's a pretty sweet looking disc, Jeremy. Where did
Yeah,
you get that? What type of disc is that, Jeremy?
That disc is a Equin Nuwa, and it's a nice fairway driver. So I think what I would probably do with this disc
Yeah. Nice
is
bottom
I would
stamp.
throw it at a tone.
Right.
And man,
I mean,
do
I'm
you heard
curious
him
to see
talk?
where you're going with this one.
Man, you heard Jordan talking. These tones are like 3 feet tall, 8 inches in diameter. I'm going to send this thing flying. It's going to come in on that wonderful hyzer angle that we love.
Yeah.
And the one thing it's going to do is going to hit this tone, and you're just going to hear it go tong, and it's going to make this beautiful noise.
Yeah.
And I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to run that thing down, although it might roll down the cliff and I won't be able to retrieve it.
Right.
But the one thing, no matter what happens, there's one thing that will not happen when you're playing with a tone.
Exactly.
This
It'll never.
is never. It could never.
I can 100% guarantee that it will never.
Chain
Chain out!
out!
Thanks, everybody.